Hello and welcome to Culture Shock, the pop culture podcast brought to you by four aging millennials and our outdated opinions. I'm your host, Doug, and with me tonight is Adrian.
Jambalaya.
My name is Corey, and in case you were wondering, benign and a half.
You might have noticed there's only three of us today. Well, it won't happen all the time. There will be episodes where some of us are missing from time to time due to our aging millennial schedules. On tonight's episode, we're going to discuss the greatest medical show of all time, Scrubs. So scrub up, newbie. Your first shift starts now. So to start things off, we want to talk about what sets Scrubs apart from other sitcoms, because there's a million of them out there, but this one's special. I'll lead us off. Basically, I think the biggest difference about Scrubs is the realness, like the heavy topics that they like to cover, the emotional weight behind lots of the scenes and the storylines that they produce. I think for me, that's the biggest thing. But also, there's more realistic characters, I find. What do you guys think about that?
Getting rid of that damn laugh track is one of the biggest things for me. I love Friends and How I Met Your Mother and all that, but the laughing really kind of, I don't know, it gets me. I don't like the laugh track. When you really break it down, the laugh track is kind of cringy.
I agree. Honestly, I almost forget that it's not there, because it's one of those things you don't notice unless somebody points it out, even when it is there. But when it's not there, it's like, and it's still so funny without it.
You don't need people in the audience to tell you when to laugh with Scrubs. You just know when to laugh. You know when to feel, and feel you will. Scrubs is a very sad and happy show all at the same time.
Oh boy. Yes, it is.
I don't know if you've seen like these YouTube videos of a lot of these shows when they take out the laugh track, how weird it feels. Like the traditional sitcoms without a laugh track.
Certain scenes in Friends even turn into like horror situations, like when Ross, no laugh track, and Ross freaking out about his sandwich. You think he's about to axe murder somebody. It's weird.
Yeah, but no, I definitely echo, well, both your sentiments. First about the laugh track, but like Doug said, the show's so hard hitting, and like, you know, there's a million sitcoms, and all of them, you have to have some form of realism in every show, but a lot of them feel phoned in, and it doesn't hit you hard. But Scrubs, man, it makes you go from like cry laughing to just crying in an instant. You know, I guess to keep going, I would just say I also love, right from the first episode, I love the direction of just kind of the entire story being told from JD's perspective. It kind of like brings us into this new world with him, into the hospital.
That's a great point. Great point.
Yeah. So I really like that they chose to do the show through his perspective. I have to say, I love the first couple episodes, but man, I'm sure we'll get into it. But episode 4, My Old Lady, that's when I know like this show is different.
It's the first time you realize that these new doctors, these residents who are barely in the world, will run across somebody who's going to die. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. You get attached to certain patients. I have friends who are nurses, and they get attached and lose these people. And it's the first time in the show that a character really gets attached to another one, and that person's going to die. And she's more okay with it than he is, and it hits him hard.
Yeah, like there's so much that's what I meant when I said realism, essentially. There's just like this just sense of like, you feel like you could see this happening. You do. It's not that you could, it's that you do see these exact situations playing out in real life all the time. I think it's a good idea for us to, let's mention a couple other shows to like, so we can point out like the real difference there. Because like, Scrubs has all these things. It still has those same sitcom moments, like the friends joking around and at the bar or in their house or their apartment. And you see that in shows like How I Met Your Mother and Friends, and what are some other like sitcoms? I know I focus on those ones because they're the ones I like, obviously.
I mean, King of Queens.
Oh yeah,
Everybody Loves Raymond.
I love King of Queens.
Home Improvement.
So we can totally edit this back. I just wanted to make one more point about My Old Lady. All I wanted to say is I also love the direction of that episode, not only with the attachment that he forms and his fear of death, but that he says, like, The whole setup of that episode is they say 1 in every 3 patients will die in this place. And I just think it was so brilliant how the entire episode you're like, which one is going to die? And at the end, all 3 of them are taken out.
And then he says that sometimes the odds aren't as good as 1 out of 3.
Right. Some days the odds are worse than that.
And that was, you said, episode 4?
That was episode 4 of season 1.
Because you're like a super fan. I love the show and I've seen it countless times. But you know the episode names and numbers,
right?
And where the genius of Scrubs comes in is that hard-hitting moment, that ridiculously hard decision that JD has to make with her deciding her life is over. He goes to the fantasy of signing for the ton of bricks to fall on him. That's the genius part of Scrubs, is she's gonna die, and they still had a joke for that.
Right. They still somehow made you laugh.
which is something I like. If you talk to like real doctors and surgeons and whatnot, that's actually something they do use comedy to get through those dark times, because like none of them are just unaffected. Like any doctor out there, like you might think that they don't care, but like they're only doctors because they care to begin with. Like they didn't just do it because they wanted to spend 24 years in school and owe somebody $600,000.
I love the fact multiple times through the show that JD like cries, like it's totally okay to cry as a doctor.
You might know, there's an episode early on that JD almost felt like he wasn't good enough, like he wasn't good enough at anything. And one of the other new residents, he was an all-star. He could do everything perfectly.
Oh yeah.
But
Yes.
At the end of the episode, JD, they lost their patient, and that guy could not handle it. It was too much for him, and he ended up leaving the hospital. Like, he could do everything so well. He was really good, textbook smart, but he couldn't handle the emotional side of things.
Throughout the whole episode, he kept saying, no problem, we'll do this. No problem, we'll do this. And then the whole point was, oh, he's so confident. Man, he knows what he's doing. And then when the person dies, he just doesn't know how to handle it. He's crying.
It's a little kid. He's like that. That kid's gonna die. Like, what am I supposed to tell his parents? He lived a good 6 years. Like, oh man, that hurts.
Yeah, for me, that was the episode that I was like, okay, this is a lot, because I watched the first season as it aired on television way back when. What year was that?
2001.
2001. Yeah, so I was just 11 at the time. At my house we watched Friends and stuff, and I was like, this is a lot different than that. Okay. I'm like, this got real serious. I didn't know how to handle that as a little kid, honestly. It wasn't until I was a little older and came back and rewatched Scrubs, that I was truly able to appreciate what was going on the screen.
Yeah, so that's one thing I definitely have to thank my brother for on this podcast. I was actually not a fan of Scrubs when it first came out. And yeah, I did. And and the thing is, I never really gave it a chance. I didn't like watch a half a season and be like, this show's not for me.
Why do you think you weren't interested?
I honestly have no earthly idea. I know that like I was never a fan of like the medical maybe I thought it was just going to be like ER and Grey's Anatomy, and
that was my exact theory. Was ER was really big at the time still too, and I thought maybe the hotness of George Clooney. Oh my God, he's so hot in this show. I think Adrian probably, the same reason I didn't like Brad Pitt back in the day is because our mom was so obsessed with him that it turned me off from the actor so much. I was like, well, he can't be good.
Then you gave him a chance and like, oh,
this dude can act.
I skipped Fight Club completely because
oops,
I thought it would be stupid. And then when I finally watched Fight Club, it was one of my favorite movies.
Oh, so this is like life-changing. Okay.
Yeah, Fight Club is a very different movie.
Yeah.
You have to find that one on the dark web.
You mentioned ER, and it's funny you mentioned that. I kind of forgot, but it's actually, my mom was a massive fan of that show for years and years, and I actually watched it with her, and I actually enjoyed it when I was a kid. So, and that was another, much more of a drama, but it still had some sitcom-y aspects. I don't want to say it like set up the concept of like being able to like these, like a show kind of like Scrubs, but there were probably some influence there about keeping it the serious part serious. I'm trying to remember. I can't even remember. It's a newer show. It's about EMTs. It's a medical comedy sitcom thing.
Oh yeah, it has Louis Guzman in it.
Yeah, I can never remember the name of it. I didn't watch it much, but it just, there was something about it that it was like, it's almost there at that Scrubs level, but I can't even put my finger on it, that it just, something was missing, like something from the formula that Scrubs just nailed.
Well, it didn't have the Todd.
If that's your favorite side guy, yeah, we'll talk about that shortly.
I have a feeling that'll come up.
That might come up.
I just wanted to keep going. I know we said this I directly said this on a previous episode. To me, another thing I love about Scrubs is literally everything you need to know about life is in the final 5 minutes of episodes of Scrubs. Like, just JD concludes each episode. Like, each episode really teaches you a lesson about life.
If you supercut all of his lessons together into one long video, you might actually get through life okay.
Right. And they even say in an episode, the episode with Sesame Street, how Sesame Street teaches you everything about life. But, like, no, the end of Scrubs teaches you everything you need to know about life. Not Sesame Street, not Full House. Sorry, Doug. Scrubs.
Trust me, Full House doesn't teach me anything anyway about how to live or anything. I just grew up with it and enjoy it because I'm a nostalgic aging millennial. I think we can all agree that tonight we're going to focus on Scrubs and not what was supposed to be spin-off 9th season, the medical school stuff. This is going to be mostly.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Precisely. This is going to be all 8 seasons of Scrubs beginning to end. If you disagree with that statement, please find another podcast. I'm just kidding. It managed to build up these characters, their lives, just like sitcoms, with so much more realism that at the end, when JD is walking off, he finally gets like that good, like the Dr. Cox says those good things about him, giving that we all wanted to hear for all 8 seasons, just one time. You finally get that. And not even to his face. He wouldn't even say it to his face. That's not the man he was.
True Coxian
Someone had to insult
fashion.
him when he left the room. Then the truth finally was revealed.
It was beautiful the way they did it too. They made somebody
Sonny.
made him basically say how, I don't understand why everybody liked that guy, because he knew that would set Dr. Cox off to finally say the things he wanted him to say.
See, JD knew Dr. Cox so well that he knew he cared, and he knew he could get him to say it if he set it up.
All he had to do was doubt who Dr. Cox trained, and he knew Dr. Cox would take it from there.
And it was a beautiful moment. And then as he left that hospital, like before the show, we were just riffing on some of our favorite parts. But I believe it was, which one of you mentioned the seeing all the dreams the daydreams come true as he was walking out?
I mentioned that.
Yeah, want to just go into that a little? I think it's a good moment because I think we all know that sitcoms genuinely don't have all-star endings, but I think like did something that other ones just can't.
It was just the choice of music, along with JD finally seeing the future he always wanted. And even though in the fantasy that he's looking at, Dr. Cox still kind of rejects him, he at least comes to his house for the Christmas thing. And when he hugs him, he doesn't push him away. Begrudgingly hugs him. He doesn't put his arm around him, but and then, he sees his kid grow up and get engaged to Turk's kid. And then he sees, and just the way he's dancing with Elliott and the music is playing is just, I don't know, it gets me. It hurts me in my soul to know that was the moment the show ended for me.
I just want to say also a brilliant way to infuse all of the side characters as JD's walking down the final hall.
Yes. Just
because it works so well with his imagination, like it makes sense that they would all be there. So that was just a great way to incorporate almost every single side character.
Like it was like a true goodbye. Like
it was.
While we were saying goodbye to JD, like he was leaving the hospital, so everyone was saying goodbye, but it was also goodbye for us, the fans.
What we as normal, non-imaginative people would be thinking walking down the hallway, he's seeing happen, because he has such a vivid imagination and fantasy world in his head that the things we would be thinking like, oh, that person used to say this to me, in his world, that person walks up and says that to him. So it was almost like that was really happening for him.
So many series like phone in these characters at the very end. Like I'll say it, Seinfeld even, they had the court case in the final episode and they like bring in every single side character to like testify like against them what terrible people they are, which they are.
Yeah, see, that was smart.
See, I have no idea what the final episode of Seinfeld was because you could never get me that far.
It was a huge letdown. Well, for people who actually like the show.
See, there's the thing about sitcoms, like right there, that the point I was trying to make is like they just don't ever know how to end right, but like they just did with this one. They did exactly what you wanted them to do, and while it was sad, you were satisfied. You weren't like, man, there needs to be more. It was like the hallucinations or daydreams or whatever you want to call them he saw as he was leaving. That's the one thing about shows that we always want but never get is what happens next, and they showed us. They showed us what's going to happen for these characters.
Exactly.
They let us know they were still going to see each other. They let us know things were going to be okay. They let us just know what came next after the show.
Right.
And that's a question. If you are someone who likes television series, movies, whatever, you always ask what's going to happen to them.
Absolutely.
And we got that answer for once.
But then the chills you get when he looks back and says, "Who's to say my fantasies won't come true just this once?"
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful.
And then just a little acoustic guitar playing the song.
You're watching that tarp thinking, oh, this is JD fantasizing. That's great. But when he says, "Who's to say this won't come true?" it makes you as an audience member think, yeah, if maybe it will finally come true for him.
And who's the one to literally rip down the image? It's Bill Lawrence, the creator of the show. There's just some beautiful symbolism in that.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good. I actually forgot about that. That's good that you mentioned that. That is something cool to do as like the creators. Like, I started it and I'm ending it.
Right, or we thought he was.
Yeah, well,
not his first cameo in the show though.
Right, very true.
What were his cameos?
He was Todd's teacher from Hawaii.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, he did the janitor's wedding, which was hilarious. This guy's going to marry this girl right here. Does anyone have any objections?
Can you think of any other sitcoms where the creator did something like that, and it wasn't awful or cringy?
You're going to love this, Doug. At the end of The Office, in the very last episode, they do a picture with everybody from The Office. Pam goes, "Get up here, let's take a picture." And everybody that's there comes up and she goes, "Oh, I kind of just meant the people from The Office." But
Right.
The guy standing beside her, holding her, is the creator of the show.
Yeah, he's the actual creator of the show. He just got in the picture because...
He got in the picture.
Oh, that's cool. For a moment there, I thought you meant like cast and crew, like the crew, like everybody behind the scenes, like walking. I was like, that actually would have been cool. I would have. That's something.
Honestly, I don't know their faces well enough to know. It could have been all of them. I just know for sure the one that had his arm around Pam, Jenna Fisher, was the creator of the show.
That's pretty cool, actually. Like I gotta admit, as a non-Office guy, like that's pretty sick.
And obviously Matthew Perry created Friends, so that was cool. That was
He's
cool
on every
in the
episode.
final episode. Yeah.
No, he didn't create Friends. He made it what it is.
Yeah, but just I thought on top of the viewpoint of JD, I loved. I mean, it was so bold to do like these fantasy cutaways, which the whole show revolved around. I mean, that was a really bold choice. Like that very easily could have not worked.
Like for example, like you think about Family Guy and cutaways are the thing ever. Like people are like, why do they still do this after all these years? It's not funny, yada yada. But you never thought that once in Scrubs.
Never. Yeah, they never felt unnecessary or forced in. Like they were all pretty funny. Love Train.
Character. Like he would be just.
That was the first one I thought of when you said that. That's what
yes. You're gonna be an awful father.
And the funny part is they even make fun of it in an episode where JD puts his head up, and they go, "Oh, he's doing it again." Sometimes he sits there for a while.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true.
Dude, you okay? You were gone a really long time. Get dressed. You're going to be late for work. Yeah, but I just thought that was a really bold choice. Like, what an angle to go with like a medical dramedy, like why the fantasies? Like, I mean, it ended up being a great choice, but like, I wonder who, was that Bill Lawrence's idea? Like, what was that?
Another thing about the show that I think is important to point out, because at the, like nowadays you see like main male characters written in a way where they're more like vulnerable and stuff, but back then that was often not the case. Like main male characters had to be like badass, can do it all types in most things. Like think of another shows around the time, like Home Improvement and stuff. The main character had to be, I'm great with tools. I build things. I'm the man of the house. Blah 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 blah. But JD had like he was not a tough guy. He was a nerdy dude. He was weak. He wasn't strong, like physically strong. He wasn't like the man in the house or anything like that. He was vulnerable. He showed his feelings. He like was quirky. He had like
let me feel my feelings, Turk.
Yeah, exactly. And their bromance was another thing that was
yeah, absolutely.
It showed that men are allowed to be friends and care about each other, and that just didn't exist back then. Before that, in my opinion.
But we don't all do high five, low five.
No, I didn't like low five.
No, you're not coming around.
We also don't all like piggyback ride and talk about eagles and stuff at the same time. While
we do that.
Yeah, that still is definitely.
But we don't show people.
That is one of the best bromances to ever see TV.
It's the best.
That always will be.
I feel like them two coined the phrase bromance.
Yeah, was that even a term before that?
I don't know. I honestly don't think it was. Like they were in a magazine. I don't know if it was TV Guide or something, but it said TV's biggest bromance, and I'm not sure that it was ever said before that.
Quickly, for our younger listeners, the TV Guide, you used to have to buy to know it was going to be on next because you didn't otherwise. I know that's hard to believe.
Yeah, that bromance could very well be possible. We know Barney Stinson created the bro code. Maybe they created the bromance.
No, Barnabas Stinson created
Barnabas Stinson.
Yes, Barnabas.
True story.
True. Yeah, true story. I was there. I have something we didn't plan on talking about, but I figured it's a good time to ask about it. Oh shit, what was it? I had the idea. I should have wrote it down. It just came to me while we were talking.
I was very quick to forget it.
I know. Oh man, it was a great question. The greatest question never asked at this point. Yeah, I think it's gone.
Now you're overhyping, and now we're not going to like it.
I know. Question never asked.
It was life. It could have saved the world if I asked this question. I swear. I literally can't remember, so we'll have to just forget about it.
The answer is yes. John Ritter did play JD's dad.
Rest in peace. Oh my God, you're right. Rest in peace, John Ritter.
Pull my finger. I pooed a little.
Oh my God.
But the last thing I was going to say kind of leads to the second point, and I just want to say, like, there were absolutely amazing recurring characters. That's another thing where this show really stood out. I'm like an It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia person, as I think my co-hosts are as well. And they also really nail these recurring characters. But man, yeah, Scrubs really, I don't think there's a side character that I didn't enjoy in the show.
I will, if not for Always Sunny, I would probably say Scrubs has the best recurring characters, but when I think of recurring characters, I just can't help but think of Always Sunny first.
Absolutely.
Well, I can't go without mentioning that Always Sunny was so bold as to have Jason Sudeikis just jump in at the end of an episode and leave with the waitress.
The high school
literally
reunion.
a minute. And they had Jason Sudeikis just come in and leave with the waitress. That's bold.
That is very bold.
That's funny.
Who? Why don't you just say the waitress? Because that's not my name.
I just watched that episode. All right. Anyway, recurring characters and Scrubs.
Yeah, that is a good segue into our next topic here. I'll let you guys go first. We'll just start with.
Oh man,
save your favorite reoccurring character for last, but talk about a bunch of them before that. But save your favorite one for the end of the topic, okay? So, Adrian, let's hear a couple from you first.
I guess as douchey as he is, I always love the Todd.
Oh, he's great. I don't
care. What the hell are you? I'm the Todd.
I'm the Todd.
But
the mysteriousness of the character.
And I also love how he was like somehow still really good at his job, like on top of his like bro mentality. Like at the end of the day, if you remember, there was the episode where Todd outranked Turk, and it obviously drove Turk insane. But yeah, so I like that they still made Todd really good at his job despite being a weird dude. Oh, I can't think of his Doug. I love Doug.
He's actually, I like that one as well. it's just always like, man, how is this guy still in this hospital? But he was there the whole time.
It's like that time Dr. Kelso gave you a lollipop because you went 4 days without killing somebody. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And even he found his perfect fit in the morgue.
He did, yeah.
They even were able to, like, they had the storylines for all the recurring characters, like, that gave you answers, and their lives kept going too, not just the main characters. I think that's an important aspect of that show. Is you always kind of like forget it, like in Friends, who cared about fucking Garth or whatever the hell, the guy at the
Gunther
cafe.
Gunther.
Yeah, I can't remember his
Dare
name.
you?
Like he's there.
what is
forever.
that?
And how?
Yeah,
and
he's
what
there
is-
forever. But we have no concept of like how
Yeah,
his
like,
life was.
Yeah, we don't
going
know
or
if
what
Gunther
changed.
ever got a happy ending. We just know he used to be on a sitcom, and then he used to be on a soap opera, and then he got a
Soap
job
opera.
at the coffee house.
I was Bryce on all my circuits. Wow.
Oh,
Circuits.
I love that you mixed that up. That's amazing. That's wonderful.
Calculon.
I'm just gonna keep it like
Calculon.
that.
Hey, Calculon's here. Anyway,
Yeah, no, but
we'll talk about that someday.
They literally did have, yeah, you're right about that though, Doug. Like, they even found a complete storyline for fucking Doug. He's somebody who easily could have just faded into the background, and they still found like a perfect fit for a side character.
He was one of the last characters you saw on screen, like even in the show.
They actually had a very clever way of, because there was no way he was going to survive as a doctor in that hospital.
Not at all.
There was very clever the way they had him find his calling at the hospital.
Death followed Doug, and his perfect fit was the morgue.
He's killed so many people he could go to the morgue and just diagnose a death just by looking at them.
It was fantastic.
Let's be honest.
Really.
DJ Qualls was a better doctor than Doug.
Everybody was a better doctor, but damn it, he could identify a cause of death, like you said. Oh, I think one of the ones I like Ted. He's just
damn it. I'll mention him shortly.
Is he
too.
okay? You know what? I'll save him for you guys. If that's your favorite, I'll save that for you guys.
I mean,
won't go in any deeper.
We can all talk about the Ted.
The Ted, not
The
the
Ted. The Ted.
I mean, there's countless other.
For God's sake, sir, just fire me.
I know Kelso. I know Kelso's like kind of a main character, but he's also kind of a reoccurring character in that sense. Too, like he's in a lot of episodes, but he's also not in a lot of episodes. So it's, what would you guys classify that there?
I feel like Kelso's a main character, but there are a lot of mains in that show.
That's the thing, like,
Right.
He's not part of the main group, but that's the thing about the show again, is there's so much more main character than just like the group of friends, like in other shows.
There's like subcategories. He's like a secondary main, not quite reoccurring.
Yeah, it's like it's hard to classify him because he's easily one of my favorite characters in the show.
He's in the same category as the janitor, where he's mostly a main character. He's not who the story's about.
Except that episode that's about him.
Exactly.
Why'd you leave me, Daddy?
When he's sitting on the bench talking to that random guy like all day, and the
all
dude
day,
just
right?
is terrified.
Yeah, that's great.
Can I go back to work, sir?
Yeah, the one, and at the end of that episode, he was the one that said, "No, I don't think he's too bad."
Yeah, right. Boone. What kind of name is that? Boone.
Oh man.
Oh, I love Kelso though. Yeah, whatever category we put him in, he was a perfect addition for that show.
And Ken Jennings, is that his name? No,
Ken Jenkins.
Ken Jenkins.
Ken Jennings.
Ken Jennings was the second best Jeopardy winner of all time.
I don't listen to that hippie crap.
But Ken Jenkins is such a sweet, nice man in real life that it was such a testament to his acting how much of a monster he was in that show.
I gotta say, the way that he became like suddenly best friends with Cox after he wasn't the chief medicine anymore, it just goes to show you it really was he was doing his best with what he had, what he could do. But sometimes the hard choices make you look like the villain, and he was in charge, and he had to make the hard choices all the time.
They have an entire episode dedicated to him probably being different outside that place, and that the hard decisions make you the villain. That's just how it is. And there's a whole slow motion where he's walking down the steps as the hard ass. As soon as he hits the pavement, he starts whistling and walks past them. And then at the end of the episode, he hits that pavement. sighs because he realizes his job is hard and he's going to think about it after work.
Yeah.
It doesn't just die in the hospital. It goes
And
home with him.
I think a real good way that they showcase that he wasn't the monster that
These feelings won't go
people look
away.
is when Cox became the chief of medicine and he finally realized that he really was doing what he could. This is hard. Like, it's not.
That's one thing I'll always love about Scrubs is the soundtrack.
Oh,
They
yeah.
found the perfect music for every moment, every single moment.
It's probably the best sitcom soundtrack I can think of.
Oh, I can't even think of another one.
Yeah, there are literally songs that I go listen to from that were in episodes
Absolutely.
of that, and I never would have known they existed if not for that show.
Absolutely.
And I listen to them still to this day. They're the versions on that show too, because they weren't always the original. Some were.
Yeah, they have Say Anything. They have Death Cab for Cutie. I mean, those two. They have the Shins. You get those three for me.
Fray.
Like, I'm in. The Fray, right? No, not that Fray song.
Even the intro song is like so memorable. Even it's so,
Laszlo Bane.
Yeah, the first time I heard that song outside of the show, I was like, wait a minute, this sounds so familiar. Then it finally got to that line. I was like, wait, what?
Can we just talk about how weird it is to hear show songs outside of the show?
Yeah, it's
like at the casino. I always hear the damn Rembrandts or whatever it is doing the Friends song.
I heard the Friends theme on the radio once, and I was like, "Why is this song 5 minutes long? What is going on?"
Best thing ever.
It was only 27 seconds.
Best thing ever. I heard the Friends theme today at the casino with a guy wearing a Friends shirt in front of me. I gave a.
That's surreal.
If he didn't jump into the fountain and start splashing around, I don't know how life is going.
Probably not very well. She was on the always rain when it rains part. Corey, give us a side character. Give us a recurring character.
I mean, you touched on quite a few of them, but I really like Jordan. I think she's great. I think
that might be one that I have saved for later.
Oh, well, then I'll leave that for you. Then I'm gonna go obviously the Todd. I mean, if you don't love the Todd, get the hell out of here.
High five.
But like Keith Dudemeister, I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, my last name is Dudemeister. And what am I gonna do with Keith? What am I gonna do with that, Keith?
Refresh my memory. I can't place him.
Keith's the one that he's an intern. He comes in and Elliott dates him for a while. Keith, and he loves JD. He's the one checking. He's the one checking Mr. Counter's heart rate.
Yeah. Okay.
He's also Ben the soldier, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, with the jean shorts.
The jean shorts. I'm your desert rose. Yeah, no, but Dudemeister. My last name is Dudemeister. And what am I going to do with that, Keith? I'm not a magician.
Why can't I get a nickname? My last name is literally Dudemeister.
Some last names don't lend themselves to nicknames, Keith.
Oh my!
He hated him so much. Yet he was part of their sexual stories.
No,
the apple thief.
Yeah,
I told you no talking. No, but and then also Lloyd. Come on, Lloyd.
Oh yeah, Lloyd.
You better not be stealing Uncle Bob's needles. No, I don't use needles anymore, sir. Oh, you quit using drugs? Nope, sign here.
That's one of the best lines. Lloyd, this is a straw. He hands him a straw accidentally.
Lloyd, you're alive. Fake my own death, bruh.
Yeah, dude, one of the best Lloyd moments is when they say JD must be one of the loneliest guys in the hospital. And he goes, not the loneliest. He runs into Lloyd and they both go, they finally touched somebody.
They were a touch from another person.
Oh my God.
Human embrace.
Oh
Yeah,
my.
Fun fact, the first episode Lloyd's in, he's the guy who he signs for the delivery for the
ton of bricks. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yep. Can I get that pen back? Yeah, Lloyd's moments are always short but very sweet. Weren't we in an air band together? I'm pretty sure we were. Turks, I don't know, maybe.
You have to watch the show to understand, but the show,
oh my God,
it's beautiful.
There's just, oh my God.
I think it's safe. Oh, do you have something to say? Go for it.
Oh, no, this probably could have gone more into the first category, but or the third category. This is the worst place to say it. But there's just no shit.
Says it anyway.
Proceeds to say it. But there's just no sitcom ever that blends comedy and drama so seamlessly. Like God, I can't get over, like, I can't explain enough ways how quick that show can go from laugh to cry to laugh. Like,
That's actually how I explain it to people who haven't seen it. Is that if you love drama and you love comedy, this show is the only one who does both perfect.
I think because all sitcoms have to have a musical episode, it's like a rule.
of course,
The way that Scrubs
come up for me.
approached it. Oh, it will. Then I'll let that wait because that's a good one. I think it's safe for us to go ahead and just jump to our favorite ones. Why, you guys? It sounds like you have the same one. So
Corey,
why don't you guys
mutual here?
hash that out?
Are we both season 6, episode 6? A musical?
No, for our favorite recurring
Recurring
character.
Oh,
I think we're in agreement.
Sound like
Oh, yeah,
our
Ted.
boy. Yeah,
Ted
it sounds like
Buckland.
our boy Ted might come up for you guys. So
Ted
why
Buckland
don't
for
you,
sure.
why don't you go over that?
Ted, lunch was 4 hours ago. Yep, wasted most of my Tuesday.
Is there a scene that you don't laugh at that he's in?
Never.
Ted is close to my favorite character in the show, period. Not just reoccurring. He's close to my favorite show.
It doesn't
period.
matter if Ted is in a scene with JD, Turk, Dr. Cox, who's the best character in the show. Ted always
Yeah, I
steals
agree.
the scene.
He does.
Somehow he steals every scene he's in.
Now I'm just thinking of like things that Ted.
Right.
Oh my God.
I have happy. Oh, actually, I don't know. I don't want to make that joke on the podcast. I was just gonna say I have happy pills in the top drawer. Oh, at this dump, I'll need a gun. Bottom left.
God damn it! I mean, it's a joke in the show that we're talking about.
It is.
Oh, I think my favorite Ted moment is, when he's trying to build moments, rather when they're trying to help him build self confidence and stand up to Kelso, and he does something as simple as "I'll get that later" or something. And
Yeah.
he's like, "No, you'll get it now." He's like, "Yes, I'll get it now. I almost did it, guys." It's like,
No, yeah. At the end of that, he says,
Yeah.
"Okay, but I'm getting a soda first. Fine. Don't you?"
Yeah. And it's like,
Is this
and
really
he was-
that big of a moment for you?
It was like the most triumphant moment in the show. It was
No, you're coming back to my office to do busy work.
Oh man, Ted is really good.
When Ted says, "What's a Buckland?" Dr.
What's
Cox,
up?
it's a predominantly hairless growth that is never found on women. Ted, that's weird. Dr. Cox turns his fucking name tag around. That's your last name, Ted.
It's your last name, Ted.
Oh my God.
It's your last name, Ted.
Oh boy.
It's when Dr. Cox is forced to do paperwork with Ted all day.
Oh my.
You are a worthless peon, and you will always be a worthless peon. Hey, sir, you remember my band, the Worthless Peons? Chris laughed. Chris, we lose
done a
all of our
whole
sex
episode
appeal.
just on Ted. I swear. Like, God,
Oh,
now I'm,
absolutely.
thinking about it. You started to mention Jordan, and she is like Dr. Cox levels of like ruthless and savage with the things she says, which is why they're such a great fit.
Oh, she gives it right back to him.
Oh, yeah.
And like all the shows that actress has been in, like her role in Scrubs is just fucking dynamite, in my opinion. Like,
There's a point where she says something back to Cox, and he even goes, I can't, you're better. And he just walks away.
Right. I just wanted to say I love so much the moment, that one rare moment when Dr. Cox and Jordan team up against JD, when JD's like, plus he wasn't even going to go see the baby. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. Did I ask for your opinion, Sally Sassy Pants? And Dr. Cox is just like giving her a massage. Oh yeah, now work the body. I love when those two work together.
they had dynamic chemistry. It was
did.
It was really well done. Like, and at a point you almost forget she's not even a main character. Like, she's just there. Like, she starts hanging out with the main female characters, Scarlett and Elliott. And I think she did just basically transition from side character to main character basically at a point. It's almost hard to separate it, like Kelso and Ted even. It's just, but I think that's the beauty of the recurring characters in the show, is that you have that much stock in what's going on in their lives.
Plus, she has one of the best moments ever in the show when Dr. Cox tells her she's too predictable, and she walks in there and just destroys everybody's lives in one conversation.
Everybody.
Just shatters the grand illusion.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful, absolutely. I was just saying, Jordan is a savage. I love her character.
Well, we've been talking about all these recurring characters. Might as well just touch on a couple of the main characters real fast and maybe why we like them. I think we can all agree on who the best one is, so we'll get to that. But one thing about the characters in Scrubs that I really like, and especially for the time, was the way Elliott is written. Is such a real human being instead of like they let her just be a human being. Her problems weren't because she's a woman or because of this. Like she was just a person, like JD and Turk.
She's
and everybody
not
else.
Just the mom on the show or the sister on the show or the girlfriend.
Exactly. Or like the thing that's the pretty face or anything like that. She was such a realistic, believable character with like real person problems. And just, I was always impressed by the writing of that for the time that it came out, because that's often not the case for female characters a lot of the time.
They even went so far as most of the time to make her look more downtrodden and greasy, like she had been working all day. They didn't make her like this hot, blonde, beautiful girl that worked in the hospital all the time.
Even more so in the early seasons, you really felt for her because, like, she had some parents that really didn't care about her. Like her dad literally just wanted her to be a doctor, and her mom, like, never paid attention anytime she tried to, like, air her problems out to her. She was just worried about her looks or her finding a man. So, like, I really felt bad for her at the beginning of the show. Like, her parents did not care.
Those are really real things that happen to like real people too. Like it's just a testament.
When she's on it's like the episode where like it's a revolving door where everybody's getting in a bad mood, so they take it out on the next person. And like Turk gets angry at Elliott for no reason, and she's like on the phone telling her mom how she's lonely, and she's like, "Mom, can you just please try to hear me?" And like her mom's not listening to her at all. Like, and that's the moment Turk overhears her and he feels bad. But man, I just really felt that.
Yeah, I can definitely relate. I definitely, like, that's the thing. It's a relatable character, a real relatable person. Not like they didn't focus, like you said, on like making her like the hot blonde or anything. They just made her a person, and I think that's the coolest part.
She was an erotic mess.
And aren't we all?
Right.
And even the one big advantage she had as like a daughter of a doctor was the money that her dad was funneling to her, and even that went away in the show, and she had to make her own way. So they even made her overcome that hurdle, plus her dad trying to make her be a gynecologist, and because it's a female specialty.
Working OBGYN.
She ended up being a really successful regular old doctor.
Private practice,
yeah. She was very successful.
Dr. Cox tried to call her a sellout. I love that.
And that showed more growth when she told him off. It was like, I don't give a damn, basically. And like that was growth for her because she never would have done that earlier.
I love those few moments when she actually goes up against Dr. Cox. She occasionally puts him in his place, and it's always kind of fun to see.
She's one of the few characters that would in the whole show. JD wouldn't.
JD wouldn't dare.
As much as I love JD, but he had his...
He did in one specific instance, and that's when he asks for help. And Dr. Cox looks at him like that was wrong, and he says, "I'm not going to let you make me feel bad for asking for help. Maybe you'd get further if you would ask for help." And then he does.
Damn, yeah, good point.
And he says like, "I want to be like you, but I don't want to be you." And it's like, oh, damn. That one hurt.
Yeah, that's heavy. It's heavy stuff. That's good. That's a good point. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that.
I think we might all agree that Carla might be the least liked character in the show. Like,
out of the main cast, yeah.
She's sassy and fun, but there was a lot of moments where she kind of stepped on what they were doing, and I didn't care for that.
Like that was the thing that bothered me about it. She had like that sassy, fun thing, but she's just kind of like
she was a ball buster.
Yeah, like for like no real reason at times. It's like
and not the kind of ball buster that the janitor is, you know.
What a character! Not even supposed to be there. Improvs most of his stuff. Like,
yeah, Neil Flynn was just amazing.
What is it exactly he did that got him like the permanent role?
Well, he wasn't even supposed to talk to JD in that first scene with the penny thing,
and he just does.
Well, it was actually Zach Braff's idea. He said, instead of you just standing there, what if you like gave me a hard time about standing there? And they improv'd the penny thing, and Bill Lawrence liked it so much that he actually wrote a little script for it and said, do this. And people loved that so much that he's like, all right, I'll give him a couple lines in the next episode, and I'll give him a line in the next episode. And people loved the janitor so much in the reviews that he just kept giving him more lines.
He ends up getting whole storylines by the end. Like, isn't he married and stuff by or whatever?
Yeah,
by the time it's
to
over?
lady.
Hey, lady!
Like, fantastic. That's great. Janitor and lady. Oh,
I'm with that lady over there. Hey, lady!
that's beautiful. That's great.
Oh, yeah. The janitor is, janitor.
Like, I love when a show like sticks to its guns and all that, but when they see something
Bottom left.
and realize people like it,
Bottom
and
left,
are willing to fix it, like make it, like change things for it. I love that. I just love when they're like, huh, okay, yeah, we can roll with this, and they're willing to make changes to what they were trying to do.
Oh God, a good lawyer couldn't win this case. I just had to put Ted back in there.
Ted out of context.
Ted out of context.
That's one thing anybody can say about Bill Lawrence is he's open to changing things. He's not stubborn. If something's funny, he'll admit it's funnier than what he had, and he'll put it in there.
If something works better, then he'll be like, we're going with that.
Yeah, Turk or JD, who do you like more?
Ooh.
Oh God.
Ooh.
We used to hang out so much they called us Turk and JD. They thought we were one person, so we're Turk and JD.
And now you have to choose.
Chocolate bear or vanilla bear?
What about caramel bear?
What about caramel bear?
That's a deep cut, sorry.
You guys are gonna just keep making quotes to sidestep this.
You mean Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite?
That's right. Caramel bear.
Caramel bear. Oh man, that's such a hard question. I didn't know that was coming.
I know. I didn't tell you.
To be completely honest with you, I love them both so much that I think I like them the most together. I can't.
That's fair. If it's when they're together, they're at their best. I can accept that.
Right. I think like overall throughout the show, JD at times is definitely like more of a dick. I think Turk is more of like the morally grounded character. Like overall, I'm not saying that makes him a better character, but I just like there's just moments in the show. It's like, especially the early seasons, like, wow, JD, you're kind of a douche at points.
He's extremely selfish.
Yeah, right. Turk is like the Marshall from How I Met Your Mother, you know? He's just like the great friend that's like always there. And
when a good about the JD selfishness thing, I think a good example of that is when his brother, the first time we meet his brother, he has like a train wreck of a life, but then he comes back later and he's suddenly more successful, and he's trying to like do all these nice things for his brother who always helped him out, and it actually makes JD mad. He was like, and he says, I'm supposed to be the successful one. Just goes to show what's happening there.
That's weird that you and I both had a huge example of his selfishness. I was thinking when he
Elliott.
fights so hard to get Elliott away from Sean and then doesn't want her.
Oh, yeah, my God.
brutal.
I was thinking when Elliott is better at like the crash cart and like JD says like, you're the one that's supposed to struggle, not me. Like, oh my God, did you really just say that to her?
It's funny. We all had 3 moments we could come up with instantly unplanned to a question I didn't even plan on asking.
3 different ones, yeah.
With that being said, I relate more to JD.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, I love JD.
Yeah, man, this character's such an asshole. Yeah, he's the one I definitely relate to. But I just can't help but like him more because I was like, Turk's the jock and JD's the nerd, and I've just always been more the nerd, less of the jock. So it's just instantly for me, it's like I'm gonna gravitate that way. But I think you were right, Corey, when you said you like when they're together, they're at their best, and that's probably a fair answer.
That's guy love.
Which is exactly why My Musical is my favorite episode.
We're almost there.
Oh, are we actually doing that still? I thought we were just doing Impact.
Just go ahead and talk about it because that's less of what we're going to talk about. Yeah, good point. Go for it.
I was just them two together. The guy love song is it's a perfect example of their bro love. Just I can't even describe. Like, I've had one friend in my life. You're the only man who's ever been inside of me.
Whoa, I just took out his appendix.
I just took out his appendix. No need to clarify. Oh no, I could sing that whole song.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I love that episode. My Musical is my favorite episode. I've seen it 1,000 times.
It's a good one. one that's so hilarious, and it's just so ridiculous, but they make it a serious medical thing at the end. It's another testament to the writing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, and then JD, right as you realize it was a serious thing, JD says, "Who was the best in your head? Don't let the fact that I went to theater camp sway your decision." And then they still found a way to make it kind of sad when she's humming the song in her head.
Oh yeah,
she missed the music.
She missed the music in her head.
Yeah, speaking of music, that moment devastated me. I can't remember if it was season 1 or 2, but you remember the girl they're trying to get a heart transplant for, and she's like, like the any minute now.
Oh, yeah.
And like JD's crying because she passed away. Like, and all the doctors loved her and the nurses loved her. Oh my God, that's so hard.
We're not quite there yet.
Yeah, right? Oh, yeah.
Because we can't end this conversation without talking about the greatest character, period.
The janitor.
Dr. He's well great. Dr. Cox, undeniable. And I don't think you'll disagree. He is just the best character.
I think we all agree on that one.
Best one-liners. Just, he was a mess of a person, like a complete train wreck, but he was great at his job. Some of my favorite episodes are all really involving him as well. Like,
just the looks he can give. Like in the episode when JD finally gets into his apartment, he says, "I especially love all the pictures of your friends and family." And looks at him all evil. It's perfect.
Well, that's a good point there, newbie. Now tell me, do you want to be the big spoon or the little spoon?
You could stay. We could watch a movie or watch the game together. Maybe have a beer. We could spoon. What? Would you like to be the little spoon or the big spoon?
It's at points you think he has it all figured out and he's got his life all together. Then you see the episode where he invites people over for the game, has all his pizzas, and nobody shows up. Because he pushed everyone away by making his whole life about work and being an asshole to people.
And just constantly like stepping on his own toes and self-sabotaging himself.
Exactly.
Because a small part of him actually likes that.
I laugh the hardest when he's involved with YM.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the simple fact.
His tangents he goes on are legendary. That's just a testament to the actor that he can actually remember those. Because those are literally like 3-minute tangents like that. I don't know how he does it.
And does anybody else feel like at some point Hugh Jackman stole a role from him or something?
Yeah, what's the story there?
Now that you say that, it's just...
He talks about hating Hugh Jackman a lot.
Was John C. McGinley going to be Wolverine?
Bub.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bub.
I don't think that would have been the greatest. But, I can't... now I'm just picturing him with the claws and saying like Wolverine. So dumb.
I love when JD gives him the book of all the mean things he's ever said to him.
Oh my God!
All the rants.
I've cataloged
it. He has reference points in the back and index. Yeah, I love. Obviously, Dr. Cox is hilarious. He's a legend. But like, I also love the moments that humanize him because it shows like even the great Dr. Cox has like another side to him.
We'll get to that.
Even the great Dr. Cox can fail. Even the great Dr. Cox.
Yeah, like one of my favorite episodes is My Hero, with the one about when Ben figures out that he has leukemia, and like JD says like, how does he put it? He says like sometimes you're the most heroic when you can admit you're not heroic at all. And that's like Dr. Cox. He was too weak to visit Ben, like to see him sick, because that's like his best friend. And like, oh man, I love those moments. And Dr. Cox, he's a very unorthodox way of doing it, but he is a great mentor at the end of the day, you know? Even though, as he says, I'm not that guy.
You can ask anyone.
Sometimes you got to throw him in the water to teach him how to swim. That's Dr. Cox's way. Yeah.
If you tell anybody that old Coxie's throwing out the feel goods, you're gonna pay. And he occasionally, you know, even though it takes till the last episode, he does occasionally throw JD a bone. Like when he has the new therapist and he tells JD like the fact that you care at all is why I took interest in you as a doctor. Hell, it's why I took interest in you as a person. JD's like, are you dying? He's like, I got a new therapist.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's
You're right.
a good one.
Yeah, just I love those moments.
You're talking about moments and things that make you feel things. Since that keeps coming up, we can't hold it in any longer. We got to get. I think it's safe for us to transition to our last topic, guys. And I know you've been dying to mention them since we first started the episode. So, what are the big moments? The ones that really, they don't have to all be like terrible, like man, that ripped my heart out. What about
Right?
They could be ones that even made you just feel good. So, what were the most in the show that really just made you feel things? Period, because that's something you don't see much in sitcoms, but this one excelled at.
Oh yeah, let me feel my feelings, Turk.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know Corey said that joke, but I had to say it again.
It's a good time to say.
So I just want to say on the inverse, I mentioned earlier that My Old Lady is the first episode that let me know, like, yeah, this show hits different. You know, that honestly had one of the most devastating moments, but also one of the best feel-good moments when JD at the end is talking about just like laying in the grass and thinking about all the things you still have left to do.
I still think about that quote sometimes in my own personal life.
And like that's every person learned a lesson, you know. Turk learned to interact and get to know his patients more. But man, yeah, that quote by JD, just like, even if it's laying in the grass thinking of all the things you still have left to do. Like, oh my God, that warms your heart right after it rips out of your chest.
Heartwarming moment.
Yeah, it definitely was.
One for me that was just heartwarming is when the one cancer patient has to shave their head and he commits to doing, and their whole family does, and he commits to doing it with them, but he backs out because he's nervous, but then he realizes like it's important to him to be that guy. So he comes back with the head shaved and it just helps the patient so much.
My extra mile.
Yeah, I knew you. I had a feeling you know the episode, but like, yeah. I really like that. That moment. Like, he was like, yeah, like that. Well, JD has his selfish moments. He also is that guy that shaves his head to make his patient feel better about having to shave hers.
Yeah,
he cared about his hair.
Oh yeah,
that's a theme in the show.
Absolutely,
so that was a big deal.
Well, in the episode, there was the added pressure of the girl he was with at the time was infatuated with his hair.
She loved his hair.
The whole reason they dated was
she's like, no, I literally don't think I'd be going out with you if it wasn't for your hair. Hold on a second, I have to fix my hair. Oh wait, it's perfect. The hairman.
And that just further drives that it was an important thing to him to do that, regardless of all those things. So. Like I like those moments just as much as the ones that like make me want to disappear.
Absolutely.
Why would you make me feel this way?
I mean, you know, we have to talk about it eventually. I'm going to pull a mic here. I'm honestly shocked you guys haven't said my lunch.
My lunch and My Fallen Idol are my favorite two episodes.
Oh you guys are going to have to fill me in. I don't know all my names.
It's the one where they run into
Jill Tracy
at the store, the annoying suicidal patient.
Nicole Sullivan,
and she ends up in the hospital later that day with liver problems, and he's been waiting for transplants for three separate patients, and she has all three healthy things that every patient could get and live, and he finds it as a absolute win that he has all three organs, even a liver that his buddy that has been there for a while has been waiting. He's like, I can do this. He gives them all the things, and then they find out that she actually died of rabies, and all three of those patients die.
Oh.
Including his buddy. And he says in that episode, like he's like walking out with tears in his eyes, and he's taking off his gloves. And JD says, your shift is not over. Get back here. He's trying to be the man. And Dr. Turk turns around and says, I didn't have to give him a liver. He could have waited 6 more months for that liver. And JD says, you told me that when you let something like this destroy you, it destroys you as a doctor. And he just says, you're right. He throws his gloves on the counter and walks out the door. And it's so sad that somebody that strong.
Just you talking about it is making me almost emotional.
Yeah. Just how strong of a feeling it was. And then
because the episode pulls the 180 at the end, it's JD who's depressed because they think Jill Tracy like overdosed, like she tried to kill herself. And JD's like, any idiot could have seen that she was struggling, and I'm supposed to be a doctor. Why didn't I help her? And Dr. Cox says, like, you can't burden yourself when you see these people out in public. It's not our job out there on the streets. It's our job to treat them in the hospital. And then, it flips on its head, and Dr. Cox is depressed because Jill Tracy's organs killed all those people.
And then it's beautiful. The next episode, My Fallen Idol, they're taking turns going to his house and spending time with him, so he doesn't kill himself, because it's a very depressing thing to happen, and he's a lonely guy. and JD refuses to do it. He just won't go. And you can see that it even kind of hurts Dr. Cox that JD never showed up. And then when he finally does, he kind of tells him, get your ass back to work. People need you.
Yeah, and he just gives a great dialogue about how the biggest, what he actually loved is that, like, after all these years, that losing a patient still affects him this much. Like JD said, like, I got to tell you, man, that's what I hope to be like in 10 years. And like, that's what gets Dr. Cox talking again and gets him back to work. And like, he just needed to see JD the whole time, even though he would never admit it. JD even says, I know you're sad I didn't come earlier, even though you'd never admit it. And then Dr. Cox says, you don't drink scotch. That's
the first
thing he says. Yeah.
He goes, it's awful.
It is. I
My
hate
God,
it too.
those two episodes are rough to get through every time.
They are very hard episodes, and they've hit me harder than I think any show I've ever watched,
Yeah.
comedy-wise.
I kind of mentioned the super new guy that just could do it all, knew all the answers,
Yeah.
that couldn't
Nick.
handle it. Like that was a
that's
big
his
one
name.
for me.
Yeah.
Like it was like surprisingly too.
Oh my God, yeah. Passing the torch.
Yeah, it wasn't about like the patient, like being sad about the patient. It was just seeing like, wow, the real struggle. Everybody thinks the hard part of being a doctor is learning what you got, like all the procedures and stuff, but the real hard part, that's it right there. Like it just, like I felt that. I don't know why. It really like got to me.
Sometimes the most confident person isn't actually the most confident person.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, man. See, talking about this show, it does get you all messed up.
Yeah, like just talking about these, like I said, that's how impactful the show can be. Is like we're just talking about it, and it's like my heart hurts a little bit.
One that I have to mention. I couldn't forgive myself if I don't bring this up.
Is this gonna be the one?
It's maybe my favorite episode, season 8, episode 2. My final words. This is it's the one where JD and Turk have like a steak night planned. And they spend the whole night talking to that guy in his room. He's like dying. Joe. Oh my God. And they're like walking him through. They're talking about their life and just like they're explaining to him what death's going to be like.
Is that the one that asks what he should expect?
Yes. Oh my God. And it plays that damn Death Cab for Cutie song, love of mine. I'll follow you into the dark.
Probably why I still love that song.
Oh my God. Yeah, it hurts so much. And
yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that episode, but now that you mention it, that is such a massive
and it's such a simple setup. There's not like a lot of set pieces.
No.
It's literally the two of them in his room all night, and it's like maybe my favorite episode.
It was like a budget saving episode where they were in one room.
It's like a bottle episode.
And it ended up being like,
oh my God, it's fantastic.
And when you stop and think about it, it's like, well, yeah, they just had to skip going to a restaurant, but for doctors, like their whole life, like multiple days in a row, they weren't allowed to have a life because they have to be on call, they have to be in the hospital, they got to be working for all the time. So like for them to give that up is a lot more meaningful than it might seem at face value.
Absolutely.
It was going to be steak night and they were going to do it right, and they didn't get to.
Steak is our favorite treat. It is the world's best meat. 3 months of practice for nothing.
I think for me, like that episode, it wasn't a sad one. Like, to me, that's almost like it was a sad situation, the way that it was handled, and the fact that they said it's almost like a happy ending. Like that's just how I process it. I'm a little weird about that kind of stuff. But.
And we talked about these doctors like reacting to Scrubs, and like doctors say that is like the way that JD describes death in that episode is like pitch perfect. It's just like, you'll get tired, and then you'll have a little harder time breathing, but you won't struggle. Like, and then you'll just kind of go like, and it's just perfect. Like, oh my God. I love it.
This and you could see on his face he was relieved and like
he was
just happy he wasn't there alone when it happened. And it just, to me, like it's like almost a feel good moment in a weird way.
I love the fact they still pepper a little comedy in, like Joe's saying like, man, all I want right now is a damn cigar. I wonder why they won't let me have one. JD's like, well, it could be because it could possibly ignite your oxygen tank, basically blowing up the whole wing of the hospital.
Oh.
I just love how they throw that in. Yeah, and then I also, just real quick, I love the fact how at the beginning of that episode, Turk and JD both say they're not afraid of death. And they're like, when you work with it every day, you're not afraid of it anymore. And then, of course, by the end of the episode, JD says, I have to be honest with you, Joe, I'm terrified of death. And Turk says the same thing. And they say, when you work with it every day, you can't let it know you're afraid of it or it'll kick your ass.
I hate I hate that none of us even thought to mention the episode where Laverne dies.
Oh God,
Yeah,
That's crazy.
that is definitely Carla. That's Carla's shining moment.
like it's crazy because it's almost like not recognized until it's pointed out in
It's like the last thing
show.
she does is show Dr. Cox that he can embrace life and that if he doesn't care about what other people think, he can be a happier person. And he comes in that day finally feeling that message, all happy. And they tell her that she was in a car accident, is probably going to die. It's crazy. It's perfect writing.
They never let you feel good for too long.
Right. And Corey, as you mentioned to me before, Judy Reyes kicked so much ass in that scene with Laverne in the deathbed that like the actress actually teared up. Like there was tears coming.
The last second, if you pay attention, you can actually see tears in her eyes.
That's
coming
awesome.
down her cheek.
That's incredible. Like,
well, that was also that actress hearing her friend that she worked with for 6 years, I think at that point, that she was gone, even though she came back a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, here and there she had like her small parts, which was
Laverne
funny.
again.
Ask Joey Tribbiani. When you're dead in a show, you're dead.
Yeah,
That damn elevator shaft.
Unless you get a brain transplant.
I'm in a coma.
Right.
Then somebody else gets to be you, but or you get to be somebody else. It's hard to say. So who wants to bring up the episode that I pretty sure we all want to talk about? Where do you think you guys are right now? We got to talk about an episode.
Oh my God. I don't want to. This is too much emotion at one time.
It's personally my favorite episode. I know that.
Yeah, it's up there.
First one I think about every time I think of the show.
Yeah, that's my screw up.
I know there's a newfound love for Brendan Fraser.
He's back.
For those of us who always loved him back then, he was in 2 episodes of Scrubs, and
Both were heavy.
perfect character. Played Jordan's brother and Dr. Cox's best friend, and a bit quirky, you know. They find out he has cancer, and the first episode ain't so bad. Like, he finds out he has it. It's a little sad that Dr. Cox won't go see him, but he finally does.
And you hear he's in remission after the end of the episode.
Here he's in remission, and he's doing great.
Them bastards setting us up like that.
Yep.
And the second episode when they bring him back.
It's so brilliant in that episode because like they show you signs.
He's in the entire episode.
He's in the entire episode,
Sort of.
and he's like the episode's supposed to take place in multiple days. He's always in the same clothes. Most
I
scenes
never even noticed that. So
most scenes he doesn't have his camera with him, which he always had.
It's just so crazy. I never noticed that.
They kind of put it. They put it right out there for you, like, hey, something's not right here, but you never catch that.
And things are like written in a way that even though Dr. Cox is talking to him, it's not weird that other people aren't.
Exactly.
You don't even realize it because they're just hanging out.
It's kind of the janitor effect from the first season. Like JD's the only one that actually interacts with him.
Yeah, it's like, is that guy even there? But
exactly.
You don't even realize. Like they just set it up so well. You had no idea.
That was one of the things Bill Lawrence was thinking about doing, is that JD was the only one who ever saw the janitor.
Yeah,
he realized that it would be a little too ludicrous.
They only made it one season. He was just going to be a figment of JD's imagination.
Brendan Fraser, him and Dr. Cox is like happy in this episode.
Yeah,
he's riffing with his best friend. They're like hanging out. He's in the whole episode. Then at the end, out of nowhere, boom.
The whole episode, you think it's gearing up to Dr. Cox's kid's birthday.
Right, Jack's birthday party.
He's in this nice suit, and they're walking down in this field, and he says, "Aren't you going to get your camera out, take a bunch of pictures?" And JD comes up and says, "Where do you think we are?" Holy shit, dude!
Suddenly, graveyard. He wasn't there at all.
I know. It got me.
Yeah, what a twist!
It gets me every time. Like every time. It's like maybe it'll be different this time.
Maybe they are just at a birthday party this time.
Spoiler: they weren't at a birthday party this time.
But they in fact were not at a birthday party.
Ben was Deadsies.
Oh, Deadsies. What was that middle one?
Deadsies.
Yeah, that episode. Yeah. Oh my god. That was definitely an impactful one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's another one that I like more than that, but I just don't. I don't know how it's possible for me to like another episode more than that. It's just made me feel things too much.
Right.
And I'm a sucker for tragedy. I like to I hate myself, so I gotta always watch things that make me feel bad. Obviously.
I do the same thing.
I just want to get a quick mention that my favorite monologue, because, JD's always like doling out these life lessons. I think my favorite monologue of the entire series is remember when Alex is in like the CAT scan and she asks JD out, but he doesn't know what she looks like yet. And he has this whole monologue about like how everything in life is about taking chances, and like no matter how it turns out, you're always glad that you took the chance. Like, because he says no matter how things work out in life, you're always glad that, for better or worse, that you took that chance. And just like that entire monologue to me is so powerful. That's probably my favorite thing that JD ever said, non-comically. So I just wanted to get that in there. I love that every time. I think every time I go through and rewatch Scrubs, I like share that on Facebook whenever I get to that episode.
I mean, I'd call that an emotional moment.
Absolutely.
Not all moments have to make you,
Yeah.
fucking regret living.
I've been thinking a lot lately about taking chances. Yeah, just that whole thing.
And one of his best quotes on the romantic side of life is, "It's crazy how it's amazing how the same woman can drive you crazy over and over again."
Absolutely.
Can you tell which of us are in a long-term relationship, folks?
That one always just stuck with me for some reason.
Dr. Reed, sweet. Turk. Yeah, boy. The sex gong.
Oh yeah.
I like to think Turk still hears it. That's my dog.
What was that sound in the distance? Oh yeah.
Yeah. You said we'd sleep head to toe. Dude, the naughty bits still connect. Yeah, but there's no way for them to lock in. God damn.
Hey, Turk, listen. Bacon back, classic.
Bacon back, classic. Turk, real reason. I wanted to go to JD's slip and slide and show off some of my sweet moves. The captain.
I call this one the dolphin.
Oh boy,
This
this is
so
just
quotable.
endless moments.
Oh my
Endless
God.
moments.
When Turk and Carla get back from the honeymoon, Turk, JD, Turk. They're like in the different windows. Maybe someday he'll love me that much. Carla's.
Oh my God.
Turk.
You almost got to feel for Carla at times because their true love was each other, and she
And then
was
the
just
very
kind of
next scene,
second.
very next scene, they're walking to the hospital, arms around each other, and
They are.
Dr. Cox says, "Oh, the happy couple's returned. Oh, and Carla's here."
And Carla's here.
Oh
Turk
my
puts his
God.
arm around Carla.
Right.
Eagle. Oh my God. Yeah, you definitely feel for Carla. One of the realest moments on that show is in the final season when they're at the janitor's wedding, and JD says to Elliott, "I love you more than I love Turk." That right there, that's real love.
How could he do Turk like that?
Right? Elliott, I love you more than Turk. No.
It would have been hilarious in that moment if she's like, "You can't say that."
Yeah, right. All right, that's the line too far. The tikis.
Oh my God.
He takes Turks away to give to Elliott.
To give to Elliott, yeah. You sign stealers, they're sign stealers.
Oh my God. There's just I just love that show so much. I could just keep talking about it.
Right.
I'm like putting off and like us ending this because it's just I don't want to stop talking about it. Any last thoughts? Anything you want to say about the show, the writers, the people that were in it before we bring this one to an end, guys?
It's just fantastic, really a beautifully written show, beautifully acted. If anybody's listening to this episode for some reason and you've never watched Scrubs, watch Scrubs immediately.
Please.
It is probably...
If we didn't spoil all the best moments for you then.
it is probably
Watch
my
it anyway.
favorite... Maybe my favorite traditional, like, not even traditional, but one of my favorite sitcoms of all time.
I think it's my favorite sitcom.
Yeah, we were talking about it. I would probably put it over Friends and How I Met Your Mother and Seinfeld and all that good stuff.
I'm pretty sure that, well, no, we all like Friends of How I Met Your Mother.
Right. If you consider The Office a sitcom, which it kind of is, The Office is still slightly above it, but Scrubs is...
I'd call that a sitcom, yeah.
Yeah, right. But Scrubs, wow. I'd have a hard time not putting it like in my top 5 shows of all time.
And it's hard to even consider a sitcom as like a top
I know.
show of
It
all
really
time. Like,
is. It really is. That's how
hilarious.
much I love it.
But yeah, that's why we're doing a whole episode on it. It's that big of a deal. Like, it's not just another sitcom. If we didn't get that point across, please watch it if you haven't. You want to mention anything outside of this podcast there, Adrian?
Well, To all of our lovely listeners, we appreciate you listening to our podcast. And if you'd like to check out some more of my stuff, feel free to check out my YouTube channel at Baker Reviews, where I review and rank movies, games, TV shows, and all that good stuff. And I have a new project coming up soon. Stay tuned.
Like you said, guys, that's Baker Reviews on YouTube. And with that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for sharing your time with us yet again this week. If you're new here, why not consider subscribing to the show and join us next time from All of Us Culture Shock. Thanks for listening.